Too late. Balenciaga, Banana, red wine. No. Driving me out to the wild west. Ooh, I can see ultraviolet, hear no ultraviolence. Driver seat, I'll be the pilot. Whipping forwards like a migrant. Checking me off to the fly list. 100 band cover my eyelids. You got the right to say silent.
What you just saw is every out from the most recent MLB Perfect game pitched by Felix Hernandez on August 15th, 2012. It's been that long since we've had one. What's that one Tyler bar off Call Me If You Get Lost? Been on the hunt for perfect, but decent is what I've been on. Yeah, that's where MLB is at. And there have only been 21 perfect games in Major League Baseball in the last 118 years. So, they're rare and difficult. Baseball defines a perfect game as a pitcher getting every hitter they face out for a full game of at least 9 innings. Now here's the thing, I don't really believe in or agree with that, because I think MLB's long-standing definition of perfection is incorrect, or at least misused. Think about it logically. Let's stretch their definition out as far as it goes, for a little thought exercise. Say a pitcher lucked into 27 consecutive outs on 27 straight robbed home runs. Did they really pitch perfectly? Or did the outfielders play perfectly? First ever outfield perfect game, I guess. Harvey Haddix is known for pitching 12 perfect innings and losing the same game in the 13th inning. Every perfect game in MLB history was 9 innings. Harvey stacked 3 more perfect innings on top of that. By a perfect game's rules, you could argue Harvey Haddix pitched better than every single perfect game ever pitched without being perfect. And that's my problem. But if you do have a second to spare, this is a YouTube video after all, so I do have to let you know about the like button, the subscribe button, and our apparel. All those things can be found just by going over by the description, not even in it, just by it. Alright, thanks. Back to the good stuff. I hear the word perfect, and I interpret it as meaning something that has 0 flaws. 0 opportunity for improvement. You literally cannot do a single thing, no matter how small, better than what you already did. I'm of the opinion that pretty much nothing is perfect. I've never heard an album or watched a movie and said it was perfect. Because in my brain, I immediately think something along the lines of, there wasn't one note of a song on the album or one shot in the movie that could have been better. I like Blonde by Frank Ocean a lot, but do I really need to listen to Be Yourself and Facebook Story on every single listen? Nah, I could do without those sometimes. So logically, can I really say it's a 10 out of 10, 100% completely perfect album? I don't think a single video I've ever made is perfect, nor will I ever make a perfect video. In baseball, perfect games leave too many open holes for me. There's the home run robbing situation I gave earlier. There's also the fact that perfect games don't allow for errors. See, in this spot, the pitcher did their job, meaning they could have been perfect. The defense didn't. I guess you could spin that as the game wasn't perfect, but then why are we talking about pitchers pitching them and not simply just being a part of them? You know what's closer to a perfect game than a baseball perfect game? When the Buffalo Bills offense scored a touchdown on every single non-kneel-down drive of a playoff game against the Patriots. Every single drive had the best possible outcome to it. So is a true baseball perfect game the very best outcome on every at-bat? Which for a pitcher would be a strikeout, maybe, I guess, but even then you still have the umpire to deal with. Technically, Armando Galarraga got every hitter he faced out on June 2nd, 2010. All 28 of them. That's because this, what would have been the very last out of a perfect game, was called safe.
Wait, what?
Do you see this? It truly was not even close. But Galarraga did his job, all the way through. He won the battle against every single hitter he faced if you want to get down to brass tacks. He pitched perfectly. Or did he? A bowling perfect game is a lot more true to my definition. You had the exact desired outcome on every roll, which is the most efficient and maximum success thing you could do each time.
What's so funny? What's so funny? Why don't you try one?
Could even pull it off in Wii Bowling if you just get the Wiimote swinging technique down. Theoretically, a strike down the middle on every roll leaves zero opening for something you could have done better. Except maybe having some feel for the day you decided to go bowling. You ever hear that one story of that guy Ernie Shore getting all 27 hitters he faced out from the first inning to the 9th inning? But he didn't throw a perfect game because Babe Ruth walked the first batter, clocked the umpire in the face, got ejected, and then Ernie Shore came in and just cleaned the mess up. Hey, Babe Ruth did Ernie Shore like...
Stupid, I'm not gonna let you get the chance.
Did Ernie Shore pitch a perfect game? I don't know, you can decide that. All this time, we just happen to accept someone else's definition for perfection. The analytical side of my brain can have one that I can't help but think back to, but you don't have to accept it as a fact either. Because truly, beauty falls in the eye of the beholder. Say a baseball team is coming off a doubleheader where they've just churned through their entire bullpen. Little to no fresh arms in there that can come in and pitch without really running a severe risk of hurting themselves. If a starting pitcher gives them 7, 8, or 9 really good innings that day, they pitched exactly to what the team needed. You know how many times Sandy Alcantara, a known Chipotle enjoyer, he told us that himself, by the way,
What I love at Chipotle.
has gone out this year and pitched phenomenal baseball that A, kept his team in the game and gave him a good chance to win, and B, protected the health and rest of his teammates? He did that a lot. His team, the Miami Marlins, could not have asked for anything more. So I bet they'd tell you he literally could not have given them any more. They weren't perfect games, but they were perfect for what they needed. I've heard someone say that for music or for film, something is perfect if it gets across the artistic vision or message it intends to get across. Philosophically, I think the Sandy Alcantara analogy is the baseball version of that. And a point for this idea that a perfect game can be as flexible as you really want it to be. If you want to use my definition of pitching in a way that leaves zero ways to be improved, that's still kind of subjective and open to interpretation itself. Is throwing a perfect game, striking out all 27 batters on 3 masterfully painted sliders each that the hitters just totally whiff on? Is it getting everyone out on just one pitch? Is it getting everyone out on one pitch with the weakest contact possible? That's kind of your decision. In that sense, why are we taking an arbitrary definition of perfection and accepting it no questions asked? You don't need to conform to someone else's own subjective characteristics like that. I watched Garrett Cole pitch a game for the Yankees in Tampa Bay earlier this year. Same game the guy near me was watching Breaking Bad. Cole took a no-hitter into the 8th. Now, I went into the game wanting Cole to do something that made me happy. That's kind of why you go to games, you know? If I want to be really literal, he achieved exactly what I wanted him to because I enjoyed watching him chase for the no-hitter, even if he didn't get it. Is that him pitching perfectly for the standards that I set? Maybe. You can yell at me all you want for bending the rules in the comments, but think about the word we're talking about. Perfect. A perfect game, once you strip the word perfect apart, might not even be perfect. So one person's arbitrary constraints for one was what went down in the books, but let's do some critical thinking here. You can dictate what's perfect. That's what whoever came up with what a quote perfect game was got to do. I can set my own, admittedly really strict definition. I can just say, hey, 27 ounce is cool, I'll stay by the book. Or you can come up with the judgment yourself. And while we're at it, why is there no such thing as a hitting perfect game? If you go 5 for 5 with 5 homers or something like that, didn't you do the hitting version of what constitutes a perfect game? If we can come up with a definition for pitchers, then we probably should for hitters too, right? Baseball Hall of Famer Yogi Berra once said, if the world were perfect, it wouldn't be. I kinda agree with that. And Yogi's someone who actually caught a perfect game saying this. The great thing about life, and about people, are that they most definitely are not perfect. Or, how I look at it, either everything can be perfect or nothing can be. Perfection is either a standard that is as difficult as possible to meet, signaling an absolute inability to make a change no matter how small that would make it better. Or, perfection is something you can mend and mold to your own liking. In that world, you have the authority to dictate what's perfect the same way I or anybody else can. I had my perspective. That's what all this was about. You don't have to accept it as your own. And that is perfectly okay. Because at the end of the day, perfection of any kind is anything you want it to be. That's really just the big message I wanted to get across with all this. I don't know how I put 2 and 2 together with that from talking about baseball, but here we are.